Hey, everybody. Welcome to the August Portland Tableau User Group. My name is Jack. I am a leader of the Portland Tableau User Group here with Ryan, Cynthia, and Chris, who are also my counterparts. We have a really exciting set of speakers today. We have Kristina and Emily from the Portland Trailblazers here to talk about some of the work they're doing with Tableau and with analytics in general over at our beloved Portland Trailblazers organization. So they're going to have the floor here in a minute, and they're coming prepared with some great content and some great Tableau examples, and we're very grateful for their time here. First, a few things. Housekeeping items. For those who are new, I see some new faces and new people who are new to the Tableau user group here in Portland. Just so you know, these are our leaders. We have a couple who are, it's just Danny who's not here today, but we run these meetings monthly. So usually Thursdays at 1 p.m. And these are our current dates for the rest of the year. We will be updating the events for next month here pretty soon, and you'll all be updated if you're on the emailing list with what the content of that and who the speakers will be. So keep a lookout there. Like I said, I'm Jack, Ryan, Cynthia, and Chris. And just a few announcements here. So I will drop this in the chat or shortly after. And if you could, we have a form just surveying, for potential in-person events later this year. We would love to get your feedback on what works for people and getting this out of the Zoom room and back into in-person. And so I will drop that in the chat here soon. We have our job board and our Portland community page on the Tableau website. So we'll also drop a link there. That's a place and a resource for people to post job openings, whether it's analytics functions or just jobs related to Tableau in the thread. So I will drop that here soon. So yeah, if you have any open roles on your team, please feel free to put the links there. And then also, ideas for content. We have a few more. We have one meeting lined up for every month the rest of this year. So if you have any ideas or you're working on something cool with Tableau and would like to share it with the community, hit us up at pdxtableauusergroup@gmail.com and we will be in touch. Okay, so like I said, we have Kristina and Emily from the Trailblazers here. We're going to kick off with Kristina, who is our community spotlight. She's going to talk a little bit about her experience working as a business intelligence analyst with the Blazers. And then shortly thereafter, Emily is going to talk through some of the projects that they've used Tableau for and some of the analytical different problems that they're tackling over at the Blazers. So I am going to hand it over to them, starting, and I'll probably pass screen control to you, Emily. Awesome.
All right. Hello, everybody. I just want to say how honored I am to be here today. Thank you to the leadership of PDX TUG for this wonderful opportunity. My name is Kristina Nguyen. I am the business reporting analyst for the Portland Trailblazers. I work in the business intelligence department under the senior manager of database marketing and BI. Our department also includes data and application developers, as well as a data analyst. We're actually looking to expand our team pretty soon for a marketing analyst and CRM admin. So if you're interested in any of these positions, please feel free to reach out to me. So overall, our department is dedicated in forecasting revenue, creating Tableau reports, and driving business decisions based on data, because data is becoming so important nowadays, and it is important now more than ever to utilize it to improve our business processes. So a bit about me, I was born and raised here in Oregon and went to OSU to pursue my degree in business information systems. Prior to working with the Blazers, I participated in 2 MECOP internships. MECOP stands for Multiple Engineering Cooperative Program. My first one was at Oregon State Treasury, and my second one was with BIAM Systems. And these internships helped me realize my passion with working with data. So upon completing my second internship, I got the job with the Blazers, so the beginning of this year. And some of my hobbies are going to the gym, traveling, and trying new food places with my friends. So a bit about my path into data. I started it in school where I learned some of the basics of using data. And then my interests then further developed during my 2 internships that I had mentioned previously. At Oregon State Treasury, I started creating reports that help the department evaluate like workload for the IT department. And then at BIAM Systems, I further developed my skills and also got hands-on training in SQL, which is structured query language. And I have applied a lot of what I learned from these experiences to my job here with the Blazers, where I started to actually use Tableau on a day-to-day basis. I also attended to this year's Tableau conference and did some hands-on training there, which was really insightful. So on a daily basis, I typically am creating executive level dashboards or either problem solving any issues that may arise from these reports. And I do collaborate with various departments, so currently with sales and marketing to create reports that ensure and meets their needs. I also dabble in some SQL to be able to analyze data and also create queries. One major project that I have had the opportunity to work on is creating a dashboard for our sales analytics. It has gone through quite a lot of changes since when I first started on the report, and seeing all those changes have definitely been rewarding. And these dashboards currently analyze the leads, opportunities, and activities in our sales process. I unfortunately can't show any of the screenshots of it, but it does include detailed visuals on the sales stages we have. This report will soon be used by our sales and marketing department. So since I've started my journey with data, some important components that I have learned is to tell stories through data, which will effectively communicate like the insights and also tell a narrative when looking at the dashboard. And another important thing is like knowing your target audience, because sometimes not everyone is completely data savvy and might not understand the data as much as like I would, for example. And so making it like user-friendly and thinking about their perspective, I feel like is always important. Another thing is including relevant metrics, because you choose to show what will make like good decisions, and like irrelevant information would not be helpful and not lead to very many decisions. And then lastly, avoiding clutter makes dashboards a lot easier to consume for others. So below is just a simple example of like a before and after I had updated that report. And with that, I will pass it off to Emily.
Awesome. Does anyone have any questions for Kristina before I start? No? All right. Well, I'll just jump in. So my name is Emily Bartman. I'm the Revenue Operations Manager. Recent title change in the last couple of days with Portland Trailblazers, so that's exciting. But I just kind of wanted to highlight some pictures, moments with the Trailblazers, because it's moments like that that made me want to get into sports and still keeps me excited about where I work. I do think we have a unique business in the sense that it's like we just have seasons and everything can change from season to season, depending on what's on the court. Can make business a lot easier. And if things on the court aren't great, can make the business a little bit more challenging. So it's a unique experience that we have, but it's still a business. And so today I'm kind of just going to focus on like how even in this unique business, we are focused on data, like Kristina said, And then as an organization, we're really honing in on how to utilize all the data that we have and be able to make these really great business decisions based on that. So kind of just a little bit about me. Born and raised in Wisconsin, so not originally from Oregon, but go Packers. Grew up right outside of Green Bay. And apologize in advance because you might hear a little bit of an accent, even though I've been here for about 10 years. Some A's and O's will come off real strong. But I've been loving Portland. My whole family lives here now, so it's pretty much my home. I graduated from the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities, with a degree in sport management. So I did not have a lot of previous experience with data and analytics, but I always knew I wanted to work in sports. So this has kind of been a really great mix of those two things. I'm currently going into my 9th season with the Trailblazers. So I've been here for a bit, but I began my employment with them actually just as a part-time concierge. And so I've really been able to have new opportunities, go into full-time positions and kind of be able to grow in my career within the organization. So that's been really helpful. My current position, like I said, is revenue operations manager. So that really just includes a lot of inventory management, budget tracking, and revenue reporting. So that's really where Tableau comes in. But I also do kind of the fun side of it is I manage all of our suite rental inventory. So for both Trailblazer games and concerts, I always get to know what's available, be able to help with that pricing for new concerts that's coming through. And so that's just really been kind of a unique part of my position. And then a little bit more about me outside of work is that I really love traveling. My picture in Iceland down at the bottom. Love reading and then watching sports, especially tennis. So I'm thriving right now. And then football and Premier League. So kind of my Tableau journey. So like I said, I didn't have a lot of background with data and analytics, but I was presented with the opportunity to learn about Tableau with my initial full-time position as a premium coordinator. And that was back in 2015. So I just began utilizing Tableau to help the premium department with revenue tracking and assisting in making business decisions, even using it to help with suite rental pricing, concerts, Trailblazer games. There's a lot of different things that go into that. Who's the opponent, what's the day of the week, and then being able to use data to kind of make those decisions. I attended my first Tableau conference in 2016, which was in Austin. So that was really cool. I felt that it greatly improved my base Tableau knowledge. And I was able to participate like Kristina did in those full day trainings. And that really helped me feel more confident in my skills with Tableau. And it really gave me that base knowledge. And really since then, in the last 4 conferences that I've attended, I've done those full day trainings. And then I felt that every single time I've come away with more knowledge and then more understanding that's really helped me grow with my Tableau knowledge and help with my reporting that I'm able to do within the organization. It's also great that when you do those trainings, you receive the workbooks. So you kind of have a reference after every time that you've done that training. You could go back and be like, I know I learned about this. I just need to look back at how a certain step is, like how you do a certain step, all of that kind of thing. So it's really helpful to have that. And I know that I think I've referenced it, all of them at least once. I also do the online training. So I highly recommend that. If it's something that you're still learning, you could purchase that online. And so if I have downtime, I'm able to just go in and maybe there's something that I don't feel as confident in, like calculated fields or a certain type of graph, and then being able to go in and kind of work on that skill. I also think it's beneficial for me not having a really intense data and math background, because when I'm creating a report, I know what I would want to see. And so it kind of helps me with being able to create a report that everyone can easily understand. And it helps me put together certain reports so that anyone in our audience and organization can understand what they're looking at. But like Kristina said, overall, as an organization, we have a really great culture around data and the importance of utilizing that data to make the best business decisions. So everyone in our organization has access to our Tableau online reports. And so everyone can go in and look and be up to date on all aspects of our business, which I think is really great. So kind of on my day-to-day reporting, so reports that I manage or create or make sure are operating efficiently, are more focused on revenue tracking and how we're pacing towards a goal. So it's pretty generic, but it's really, really beneficial to the organization. So these reports assist with putting all these different types of data in one location. So whether it's suite rental revenue, club revenue, courtside seat revenue, we're putting them all into one easily accessible location. And then anyone in the organization can go in and be able to answer any question that they might have about revenue or how we're pacing to a goal. So like I said, these reports are pretty basic, but extremely useful. And it's really nice to know like what specific categories we need to be focusing on. Maybe we're falling behind on a certain revenue group, and just being able to see that instantly is always great. It's also important that we keep everyone's eyes on this data too. So like making sure that everyone knows where it is, they can look at it, because then it's really nice if we can easily recognize if something's off, maybe something's not coming through correctly in our data warehouse or our ticketing system, which is where all our data comes through in Tableau. So maybe a salesperson could catch that, hey, I made a sale, that's not showing up. And all that is very important, just because not everyone knows everything that's happening, but if everyone's looking at the data and the reporting, then we're able to catch things a lot quicker, and then we can make sure all of our data is as accurate as possible. So like I said, as an organization, we're putting importance on that. So I send these out weekly to everyone in our revenue staff, so everyone can know where we're at. If we have any big wins that week, we can celebrate that and kind of just keep everyone engaged in the numbers side of the business, which I don't think everyone is always that excited to think about. But it's just really nice to keep everyone in the loop. So these reports we keep pretty static, but every fiscal year we're going to update with new goals and then new tracking of how we're doing once we start over in that new fiscal. So another example of a report that I've put together but isn't used as day-to-day like those other reports is our suite renewal report. So historically, our suite renewal data has just lived in a giant Excel document with data on all these separate tabs, and everyone has to kind of find what they're looking for, compile it into another spreadsheet, all of that. So within the last couple of years, I've been able to center all of that data into just this one report so that everyone can get the necessary information that they need for this renewal process. So it's an annual report that's created and compiled with that data about our executive suites and our wine studios, which are smaller suites that are up for renewal, because we sell those on a 3 or 5 year contract basis. So we pretty much every single year have a different group of people, depending on when they sign that contract, coming up for renewal. So it's just a constant process of renewals. So there's a lot of data that goes through. You have to know specifically who's up for renewal. So it's a really important process too. And it can span from October to March. It can be really time consuming for our premium service staff, since they have to have a lot of conversations. There's a lot of moving parts. We have to get contracts created, all of that. And so by having this one central report with all of that information for those specific clients, I've received a lot of positive feedback from our team that it's extremely beneficial throughout that renewal process. Because when you're having those conversations with those clients, we think it's really important that you provide them with as much information and data as possible about how they're utilizing their suite, especially throughout that contract term, and then how much money they're saving by being a license, because we really believe that data is everything. So when you're having these conversations, you want to be able to convey to the client that the money that you're investing into this product is worth it to them, and then especially worth it to their business. So by having that data all kind of compiled in a nice visual way of being like, you saved X amount of money, you've attended X amount of events, and really putting that data behind why having this product is really beneficial to them as a business. So my goal with the report is to give a clear overview of their attendance, how much money they saved by being a license versus if they had purchased all of those suites at retail value, and then how many events they attended over the last 3 to 5 years. In this example, this client had attended almost 500 events. So saying for an X amount that you've paid, you had 500 events that were utilized, which is a lot. That includes both concerts, which is always, and then putting that example at the bottom of being like, you've been able to attend Michelle Obama, Elton John, Foo Fighters, all these really big name shows that are included in the cost of their contract. So we really just want to be able to make the report as easy as possible to digest, and then allow the service manager and the client to see the important data. So what I do too for this report is on the main page, you can just filter by the name of the client. So we don't have to create individual reports for each one. You just filter by the name, and then all this data updates to associate with that client. And it's really helpful too, if a service manager just wants to export this as a PDF, can kind of just have a clean visual of that data, but also if they just want to print it off and then be able to go into these meetings with the client and just be able to show that to them in person. So it's just been really helpful, and it's an ever evolving report. So whatever seems to be more beneficial for the service manager, we can add it in, adjust things, and go from there. So it's been really a really nice thing to have. So kind of the main project that I think Tableau got brought into, just because I thought it would be easier, is my executive suite analysis with comparable markets. So as you can see, these are the teams that I spoke to. This project wasn't originally designated as a data project. It was more that I was just going to talk to other teams and kind of learn about their premium businesses. But as soon as I was having these conversations, I figured out really quickly that I could use Tableau to convey the information that I gathered. So it was back in December 2021, I started connecting with these teams and just really wanted to understand how they priced their suites, how they did their suite renewal process, how they did their contracts. It was really important for our organization to understand if our pricing and renewal practices were like the other teams, completely off, and then specifically in these comparable markets with similar city sizes. So I met with those 7 teams, and then I had about 15, 20 questions that I had prepared that no matter what, I was going to ask everyone the same questions so I could really have the same data. But it was just really nice to have long conversations, really get detailed with their processes, and really learn more about how they operated, because I don't think I've ever seen many NBA teams that actually operate the same. It's very rare. So everyone's kind of doing their own thing. We all try to like bounce ideas off each other, learn from each other, but it is very, very different across the league. So when I was having those conversations, like I said, I was compiling all of that data. It just turned into a giant spreadsheet with lots of numbers and then just conversation points. But we did get data points like pricing and ticket amounts. And so as you can see, the spreadsheet got a little excessive. And so by looking at that, I knew there was no way that that could be what I was going to present to other people in my organization, just because that would be a lot for anyone to digest. And you don't really get a sense of like where we stood and kind of how we compared with those other teams. So kind of when I first knew I wanted to use Tableau, since there was no pressure that this needed to be a specific report, I kind of took a liberty with it and knew this would be a creative opportunity. So I wanted to utilize some more features, some more graphs, maybe stuff that I hadn't used with previous reports. But I also wanted to make it engaging, obviously worth people's time to look at. So I wanted to learn more about that shapes function. So I added in all of the team logos so that if you're looking at the graph, you know exactly who's who, just because it says it, it has their team logo. So you should know who you're looking at. And then I just thought it made the graph a little bit more engaging. So with this specific scatter plot, I just wanted to look at the average number of events that a team provided versus what their average ticket price. So kind of being able to figure out who had the best value for their contracts. But was extremely important with these scatter plots to have the user understand what 2 data points you're looking at. Otherwise, it's really not going to work out and it's going to get really confusing. So kind of in this example, you can see that Sacramento has the most expensive suite per ticket, but they also provide the most number or highest number of events. So you can see that value of you're going to pay more, but you're going to get more out of it. Whereas you can see with Portland, it has a lower ticket value, but we're providing the second highest number of events, which you could see is the best value. But then being able to look at how we stack up against the other teams within the scatter plot. So this is more of just me wanting to work on my Tableau skills. So this graph might not be the most intuitive way of being able to show your data. So that's why I made that every time I did one of these data points with the scatter plot, I also created a bar graph. It was kind of like definitely more standard way of looking at data, especially when you're comparing a bunch of groups or teams in this case. And it was also going to be a situation where I needed to convey data really quickly and efficiently, especially if I'm going to present this in a meeting. So I felt that the bar charts were the best option. It's a quick visualization, and it really can show where we stand against other teams. So I added in that color just so that instantly there's no question. Red means Portland, that's where we stand. But then still being able to use more of my Tableau skills while creating the bar chart. Like I said, every data point that kind of was centered around like a dollar amount or ticket numbers, I did either the scatter plot or the bar graph. So now I have all of those graphs and I'm able to reference that throughout the year, or if someone has questions, once again, to being like, so how did we stack up in this scenario, all that kind of stuff, being able to go back and have that as a reference. So big picture, overall, the purpose of this project was just to look at how we as a team compare to other organizations that are in similar markets across the country. It really helped within my department and other decision makers in the organization be able to process all that information and that data and really help us make decisions going forward about our own suite renewal process and then just general pricing going forward. The project was really helpful just with my own Tableau knowledge and practical use for new types of graphs like the scatter plot, adding in the shapes, the logos, and it's just kind of a pet project for me of just getting better at Tableau. There was no pressure behind it. It was just kind of, I could have some liberty with how I wanted to put it together. But knowing that in the end, I did need to have just some solid data to be able to share with others in the organization. But in general, like my Tableau journey, still ongoing, I'm constantly learning about the program. Like I said, I'm still doing trainings, still trying to get better at it since I don't really have that. I haven't started off with that base knowledge of data and analytics. So it's interesting to try to wire your brain around calculated functions and all of that when you're not used to it. But it's been really beneficial having the Tableau knowledge in my own career path and really having this extra knowledge to be able to help other departments with their reporting. I think it's really been good with my career growth as well. So that is my my Tableau knowledge. But if you have any questions for me, Kristina, let us know. But also, like Kristina said, email us. Our LinkedIns are on here as well. And also we are starting our intern cycles. So if you want to apply for that, there's also a few other positions available within the organization, not all analytics based, but truly across the organization. We have some job openings.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily and Kristina. That was great. Yeah, we have one question that came through, and then yeah, please everybody, if you would want to ask a question, either do so in the Q&A or thread it in the chat, and then we can read them out and answer them one by one. But the first one came from Nguyen, and curious about if you're doing any predictive analytics for renewals.
For the suite renewals?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting case because the suites are such a unique product in there's different events every year. Whereas like you get the set Trailblazer games, but it's also unpredictable what every concert season's going to bring too. So when we really lean on our service staff who've been in contact with the client all season, kind of giving us a, like, do they seem happy? Do they seem interested? I think this last year was really interesting with how businesses were doing in post-COVID and all of that. So there's so many things that are kind of unpredictable in that side of the business. I'd love to, maybe Kristina and I can try to get together and work on that, but it's a unique product and how we're able to predict how things will go.
Yeah, I had a question mostly around COVID is, the reporting. I noticed that sports teams, you saw teams pivoting towards like virtual ticket sales and, being able to like dial in and like get a camera perspective from like courtside. How did COVID overall like change, did it change the structure of reporting? Where did you have to like diversify or break out the data in different ways to account for new types of tickets, or lower capacity? Like, were there like downstream impacts to your reporting with how COVID impacted sports?
Yeah, I know just as like an organization within our building, we went full mobile. So I think that also then opens up a lot more data, that if everyone's using their phone for ticketing, that just brings in a lot more of new data. I don't know if Kristina can talk more on anything in the building. She did start in January, so I don't know. But like on our end, it was just being creative of how we're reaching people, and then how we're getting people back into the building when it was half capacity. People weren't as inclined to want to go to larger events. So I just, even like on the Trailblazers side, we sold suites at like a 6-person capacity instead of a standard 16. So I think that was also really helpful for us to see that those sold really well. So maybe then we shift to smaller, different types of suite options, because there was more interest in that than having 16 people in a suite every night. But I don't know on the reporting side, I'm sure they got more data, especially with going mobile only and then trying to get creative to reach people in the city, bring them back. And our play on the court wasn't great. So it was a really interesting combination of a season. We had a lot of things going against us.
All right. Any other questions coming through in the chat?
I saw Brian Fergus had mentioned something about new map layer functionality. Is that something that you guys think that you could incorporate, and how would you look at that? And I guess Ryan, if at some point you want to elaborate in there, any ideas that you could see, that would be interesting. Yeah, Emily, Kristina, any thoughts about bringing map layer functionality into your current reporting?
I don't know anything about that. Maybe Kristina can talk about it.
What was the question again?
Sorry to put you on the spot. We had somebody bring up how like you could bring in the new map layer functionality from Tableau into your reporting. I'm wondering if you guys had any thoughts on that. And also, sorry to put you on the spot there. Yeah. If not,
We do not as of right now, but we can definitely look into that for sure.
yeah, right on. And I guess Ryan, if you have, showing reports with a suite map as a background. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Actually, in one of our renewal reports that I have previously worked on, we do actually have a map of the Moda Center, and then just based on the color, like it's red, yellow, and green, and the percentage of how much is it renewed in that section. So that's something similar, but that's something we have currently.
Yeah, I know we used to, it's very tedious to create those maps too. I think we have to really plot all the X and Y coordinates and do all of that. And I think that's something that we're going to try to bring back for, I know we have it for the arena, and then the suites is its own little world. So getting that created as well. So that's a great idea.
Very cool. Thank you, Ryan. appreciate the clarification in that as well. Yeah. Oh, I posted the job link in there. So if anybody is interested, that would be very cool. Maybe y'all could present next year for the Blazers.
Yeah, and Ryan just dropped a link to CBI Studio. That is a really great resource for doing custom plotting and working with custom map layers in Tableau, even if it's not necessarily like a mapping or geospatial geographic use case. That's a really neat resource. Highly recommend. And yeah, it's free. All right. We do have one question through the Q&A, and it's more focused on Tableau. And so the question is, with Tableau, it's more figuring out associations and correlations. How would you move from correlations to figuring out causality? That is I'm gonna have to ponder that one for a second.
Yeah.
Figure out causality. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's a native feature in Tableau that would necessarily give you causality per se. That would, I mean,
it's hard because I mean you could
Yeah.
do something like with a correlation,
right?
and you can use a scatter plot to see what factors, and you can do something like that. They have Tableau has a situation where you can do some sort of association based off of whatever your measures are, and then you can pose a couple of different dimensions to that, and you can maybe get your answer that way, or at least get close to the answer that way. But I would also use that to maybe do some preliminary, association, and then use that to have a process of elimination to try to narrow your search down.
Yeah, and Chris, those are things you'd find in like the analytics tab? Is that what we're kind of referring to, like the clustering and forecasting?
This is totally, what I just spoke on was basically cluster analysis. And then you can, just make sure your dimensions are aligned with the measures that you're trying to compare. Because if you may have to do some prep work on the data side to make sure all of these dimensions play nice with the measures that you're trying to focus on. So otherwise you're going to get stuff plotted everywhere. It'll look pretty, but it won't tell you anything.
Yeah. And David also brings up a good point in the chat that there are some analytics extensions that you can use in Tableau. So if you have, say an R or a Python model or script, you can actually call that into a calculated field in Tableau and bring that into your workbook. That's a really neat feature that I've used. Actually, I wrote a blog on it, so I actually have used it. Yeah, so there are ways that you can bring like a model and actually run your data that you're using in a live workbook through like a Python function or model, and then visualize the output in real time in Tableau. So that maybe doesn't answer the question of causality, but it is another tool for you to get past that out of the box Tableau, and it gives you a little bit more control over, if you have like custom parameters you're using in the Python script, it allows you to bring that into the Tableau ecosystem. So you do have there's, sort of the option of using the built-in tools in the analytics pane on any worksheet, or using, custom Python or R scripting to bring in your own custom model, which, either of those, one is more catered towards data exploration, one is more towards, you might already have a model in production or development and have some idea of like what you're trying to achieve with it. So it's a great question though. I want to think about that more. And thank you, David, for linking that.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I think we're clear. I think everything else in the QA is, does anybody else have any questions for the bunch?
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
thank you all very much for giving some topics and ideas to think about for upcoming events. Appreciate. We want to show you guys what you guys want to hear. So the more feedback we get from y'all, the better. So yeah, keep the comments coming. Sorry, thank y'all. Jack, you can finish wrapping if you want to need a second.
Yeah, no, I just great engagement in the chat right now. I really, the link that David provided for predictions, like choosing a model, that is new information to me. So I definitely recommend, if you're interested in, using predictive models in Tableau, that's something that's fascinating. I've never seen this before, so I'm going to do a little bit of a deep dive myself. But yeah.
Awesome. All right. Until next time, y'all.
Thanks so
Yeah.
much for the presentation, Kristina and Emily.
Yeah, great work. And thanks everybody for attending. And we look forward to seeing you next month. We have Cynthia running the show next month, and that will be on September 15th, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a Thursday at the same time. So we'll make, yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys.
So see you in a month, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Bye. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.